It's April 14th and we'll begin our meeting with our warrant. And I'd like to move that we approve payroll number 88 for $1,964.52. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. I'd like to move that we accept accounts payable number 89 for $26,496.97. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. And that one, a lot of that was for the volunteer fire department third quarter expenses that they've had. All right, I'd like to move that we accept the minutes from April 4th, April 7th, 2025 select board meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
All right, fine. So we'll sign that. Or initial that. Then.
You're checking now?
Yep, that's the next on the agenda. All right, next on our agenda, we have Superintendent Howie Tuttle, and his team. I'll let him introduce everybody. So the select board will leave and you all come on up.
Okay. Let's get there too. Just the audience, is it probably just me? Or not to be in. Okay. I just want to tell you. Do you know? Ah.
If you're not, you can share it. I had you.
Yeah. I can see them. See. You spend all that, how can I have time?
First, and then just be sure, because I get it down right away. So it's good practice for people to let them go over there.
Are we going up?
People's gonna wanna know everybody's name, because she.
That's true. Maybe we could do like a sign first.
Yeah, so it's kind of a bit, I'll get it.
Yep. You look clipboard. Oh, I know.
You are alone. What's that?
They're leaving you up there alone.
Alone. Yeah, that's right. I'm on TV somewhere. So yeah.
No, you're on, yes, we are taking.
Okay.
You're on Zoom.
Okay.
Should actually be able to see yourself on this. screen.
So the people on, oh, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah, just the people on Zoom won't see the packets, but that's okay. Oh, well.
Question against this those later.
And this entire presentation was done similarly at the board meeting last Thursday, which is on our YouTube channel. If anybody wants to, anyone on Zoom wants to see. All right, well, thank you for putting us on your agenda. My name's Howie Tuttle. I'm superintendent for RSU 12. And I'm gonna introduce some RSU 12 people, or they're gonna introduce themselves.
Richard DeReyes from Westport.
Michelle Grant, I'm the business manager.
And Barbara Cray, school board member for Westport Island.
Thank you. And so this is a presentation, but it's meant to be also question and answer. If you have questions, just interrupt me, not a problem. Don't save them till the end. I'm gonna go through, the pages are numbered, so that'll keep us on track. So page 1 is RSU 12 and our vision from the long range plan. And there are 7 towns in RSU 12, if you didn't know that. Geographically, a very long district. So we go from Palermo to Westport Island. Page 2 is important dates for this budget process. And so we have a district budget meeting on May 21st. And Westport Island usually has a pretty good crowd. So please get there if you can. It's like the town meeting for the district. And in that meeting, the budget is set by the people in the room. There are 11 cost centers to vote on, and the people in the room, even though the board's recommended the budget, the people in the room can still change it in 11 different areas. On May 21st, the budget has to be set by the people in the room, so we don't leave until there's a budget. Then on June 10th, there's a district-wide referendum, secret ballot referendum, and that's when everybody in the RSU votes on how they feel about the budget that was set on May 21st. So it's just a yes or no vote. Do you approve of the budget set on May 21st? So that's the process that we have to follow per statute. Page 3 is all the dates of the various budget presentations throughout the district. This may actually be the biggest crowd we've had. Congratulations. Very nice. And so let's see, we are today is April 14th. Spring is here, I hope. And next week we'll present to Alna. And then this presentation is done yet again on May 21st at the district's budget meeting. Page 4, these are broad goals from the long-range plan. And so foster a safe learning environment, provide a rigorous curriculum, parental involvement in student learning, hire, retain, develop talented educators, maximize our use of resources, encourage community involvement, and have a continuous improvement process. Page 5, these are general priorities throughout the district. There's nothing, even though we have these priorities, they're pretty similar to last year. This year's budget is probably the most challenging that we've had. And there's nothing new in the budget. We actually made some cuts in various places that made sense. But yeah, we're just trying to get through this year and hopefully pass a budget that will benefit our students. But the priorities are to continue to have our health and wellness services in the schools in RSU 12, so nurses and social workers. We have an ongoing effort to provide local whole foods to the students in the cafeteria. That's still a priority. School safety is a priority. And then bullying prevention is a priority. We have a class size policy. We want to maintain those class sizes. Depending on the grade level, the policy says, kindergarten's like 18 and then middle school's like 24. And then we want to provide training for our staff in math and literacy. We are seeing in our schools a turnover. People are retiring, and we're getting lots and lots of younger new teachers who need support. Teaching's not easy. And then maintaining our technology infrastructure. In terms of capital improvements, I think this is an area the board would like to see increased, but it's not happening in this budget. We have $100,000 in this budget, which is not very much for 5 buildings in a $27 million budget. So we're just going to focus on safety and efficiency for next year with that 100,000. We have pre-K programs throughout the district. We partner with Head Start. Alna's pre-K program is at Edgecombe Eddy School. We have a contract with them. Anybody from Westport can attend at Edgecombe Eddy. They won't turn you away. Of course, school choice is a big part of RSU 12. So maintaining school choice, which is, we'll talk about that a lot. I think we talked about it last year, but again, this year, school choice is becoming very expensive for a bunch of reasons. But maintaining that, all towns have school choice at the high school level, and then Westport and Alna have school choice at the K-12 level. And then lastly, we've had a shortage of bus drivers. It affected Westport pretty significantly. And so we have started a bus driver training course and we're recruiting more bus drivers. So we have subs and we have eventually, well, so we're not sure what Pam is gonna do, but she's been having a tough year this year, and we'll see if she decides to retire or not. But we've got these bus drivers sort of ready to go. So
In the superintendent's report, we
Mhm.
talked about a workshop looking at improving basically looking at improving the learning environment. Is that going to be able to happen without funds to do that, or?
Well, that's a good question. So I think what you're referring to is we find that students are after COVID, they want a more comfortable learning. I don't know the right word. This just students are anxious, students are not behaving as well, these kinds of things. So yes, we have actually a grant, which is a 5-year grant to train our staff, to train our social workers, how to provide for an environment where the kids feel comfortable and that sort of thing. That is a federal grant. And we could lose that grant potentially. Yeah. That grant also pays for an additional social worker. That's been great. It's called the EASE grant, and I can't remember what that stands for.
Expanding.
Okay, yeah, sorry. If you, it's through the main DOE, but really it's federal funds. So if you are interested, and you Google it, I'm sure they have a whole page of information there. Let's see, page 6 is a list of all the different places that the board has creatively found ways to save money, which is, since we're mostly people and salaries and benefits, those always go up. And it's unless you're really going to start cutting programs and affect students, there's very little wiggle room and places that the board can control to save money. But here's some of the places. We formed an adult ed collaborative with MSAD 40, which is Waldoboro. And so we have one adult ed director between 2 districts. We're trying to expand that collaborative to Wiscasset and Boothbay and Damariscotta. It just all takes time. But hopefully you get our brochure. It's called the Mid-Coast Collaborative, MACE. You should get the adult ed brochure. You may get other adult ed brochures, I don't know, from Wiscasset, and probably have all kinds of choices. And so that's saving $63,000 a year. Then we've got our Education Service Center Collaborative, which with Wiscasset, and we have a special ed program with Wiscasset and Bath, and that saves about $150,000 a year because we don't have to send those high school students out to special purpose private schools. We can educate them in Wiscasset, and the state gives us extra money in subsidy for doing that. We have a Head Start collaboration, which federal money pays for half the program. Also worried about that federal money, Head Start, but it's saving you $150,000. Transportation collaboration with Wiscasset. So we do have students get on our buses from Wiscasset as appropriate, depending on where we, coordinate with them. And same thing with, our students might get on their buses. So we don't have to put an additional bus on the road to make that happen. So it saves about 20,000. We have special programs at Chelsea Elementary School, which means we don't have to send K-8 students out to special purpose private schools. We can educate them right at Chelsea. They're fantastic programs for behavior, autism, and life skills. And I believe you have at least one Westport Island student there now, and you've had students there in the past. So we transport them to Chelsea. So it's an excellent program and saves money. We have an energy performance contract that we started, I think it was 2016, 2015. And so that's still saving about $150,000 a year, saving energy in our buildings. The last three are things that are actually happening right now. They're in this budget for the first time. The first is finally we have a solar power purchase agreement. We have a section of the solar field in Brooks, Maine, 12% of the field. And based on the credits and how that all works, we're saving about $28,000 a year in electricity. So that just started in January. So the $28,000 is an estimate, but I think it's a pretty good estimate. And we need to give Mr. DeVries an awful lot of credit and thanks for making that happen, because he was he was relentless. And so it took, it's been 6 years now since, but fine, it's working. So, we were lucky enough to be awarded 2 electric buses through the federal electric bus grant before it went away. And so we've got 2 electric buses running. They run fine. I know you might have seen the newspaper where some of them don't run that well. Ours run great. And they're going to save about $10,000 a year in fuel. Supposedly there's going to be a maintenance savings too, but it's too early to tell. We've had them on the road since December, but it's significant fuel savings. That's for sure. Our solar purchase agreement, we're paying 7 cents a kilowatt hour, so that buses are running on 7 cents a kilowatt hour. So that whole thing worked out really well. And then we are saving about $50,000 in school nutrition. We're taking advantage of something called the Community Eligibility Program, which means all students can get free breakfast and lunch, but it also means we get reimbursed more. So if we have a cook or 2 cooks, we have more kids getting reimbursed than in the past. So we used to charge $50,000 just to balance the budget, charge local taxpayers. We don't need to do that anymore. Hopefully it won't go away. It's also federal money. So that is saving $50,000 a year. Page 7 is just some improvements over the last couple of years. Again, using private grants or federal grants that we applied for. We have a community learning center at Whitefield in Chelsea. It's an after-school program. It's a 5-year grant, tutoring and enrichment for students after school. I mentioned the electric buses. We did ventilation upgrades with COVID funds. We did technology upgrades with COVID funds. We did purchase a bunch of special ed vans. So one of the things about being a school choice district is if a student needs special transportation and they're student with disabilities, they can go to any school they want. And so we have to get them there, which is different than if you had, districts with 1 high school, you put 5 kids in a van and take them all to the same place. So we don't have that. And so it gets quite expensive transporting students all over the place. So having more vans available is helpful, because what we would use is a private service, which is extremely expensive. So anyway, that's helpful, and that help benefit students on Westport Island as well. And then the bus driver course I mentioned is happening. It's full right now, but it's pretty popular. There's no cost. Again, it's a federal grant. It's no cost right now, and when people are finished, they can drive a bus, but they also get their CDL. So I mean, getting your CDL is quite expensive. So here you can get it.
Commercial driver's license.
Yes, yep, thanks. And then lastly, I already talked about the school nutrition program. So trying to get those grants wherever we can. The next page shows your subsidizable student count district-wide, which was going up for a while, and now it's trending down again. The whole state of Maine is seeing less and less students. So kind of trending down with our students. We were bucking the trend there for a while, but now, yeah, our student population is dropping off. It's mostly dropping off at the high school level. Actually, across the district, with Port Island included, we're seeing more students at the younger grades. So maybe our population will increase. Also, this is the subsidizable count. These are the students that we pay for. So if they go to a charter school or an unapproved private school or they're homeschooled, they're not in this count. All right, so page 9 is the Westport Island subsidizable count. This is a 2-year rolling average. So, you're pretty much stable so far. It looks more erratic than it really is. It's because of the scale, no, the vertical column I use there. Yeah, 59.5 happens because it's a 2-year average. So we've got a half a kid running around. And we need to educate. Now don't get confused by page 9 and page 10. Page 10 is our projection for next year. It's not the subsidizable count. But students move a lot in RSU 12, and we're always tracking student counts in each town and where they're going, because we've got to make sure we're not paying a bill we're not supposed to pay. But we're predicting that as of September 1st next year, you'll have 58 students. It's hard for us to predict pre-K, so you might have a couple additional pre-K students, but you can see, you have students going to 15 different schools right now. And you may even have more students, but they might be going to private schools that aren't approved. So
It's interesting that Westport Island students go to 15 different schools.
yeah, that's a lot. I mean, yeah, it is. Yeah. Our bus, the Westport bus goes to Wiscasset and then Edgecombetty. And then students can get a transfer bus from Edgecombetty to Boothbay. So we try to give them as many choices as possible with transportation. But that's about the extent of what we're able to do. Yeah.
Do you have any data, just how many of the students actually make use of the bus as opposed to having their parents drive?
So yes, but it's not a regular thing. So I would say 15 to 20 students need the bus sporadically. Yeah. So I always ask the bus driver, okay, how many are actually on that bus, right? Because some days there's like 5, right? So I'm told by her it's 15 to 20. So that's the data.
I just want, again, something to the size of some of the buses, maybe whether you needed a full-size school bus, I don't know what the rules are for that.
Versus nine.
Right, yeah.
Downsizing the vehicle.
Right, so people have asked me that. So you can't we would need something bigger than, say, a minivan, right? And those short buses that you see driving around, they're actually no more, there's not a whole lot more savings on those buses than the big ones. Yeah, so it seems a little excessive having the big bus for 20 students. The reason why we do it is when we buy a bus, we don't know where it's going to end up in the district, so we just buy a 70-passenger bus, and it ends up where it ends up. And I think, I'm trying to remember, Pam have one of the newer buses now? Yes, yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of the thinking, but when we had this problem this year with what happened was, Pam couldn't drive, she was ill, and usually we use Wiscasset subs. Wiscasset doesn't have any subs. And we barely have any subs up north. We now have an arrangement where one of our subs from Windsor will come all the way down to Westport if Pam's out. And so that's how we're handling that. But yeah, I'm not sure, when that whole thing was happening, we were like, wow, maybe we don't even need a bus. Maybe we just need a minivan, right? But there was too many kids, potentially too many kids that want it. So, and if you count up the students who go to Wiscasset, Edgecometti, and Booth Bay, you'll get it's 15 to 20. So the possibility is always there, but yeah, there's been the other thing that caught me by surprise, I don't know how many of you are aware of the grumpy people in Westport Island back last fall, because we had not set up an alert list for that bus, because I didn't even know who was riding it. And so we were caught off guard, but my alert list has about 15 to 20 people on it that get an alert at 5 a.m. if there's a problem with the bus. And so those 15 to 20 people have not called me to complain that they're getting the alert. So
Facebook.
okay. So I'm assuming, because usually somebody will call and say, hey, can you take me off this alert? This has nothing to do with me. And those people haven't. So that's why I feel like my number is pretty accurate. 15 to 20. So
And I take it any kid can get on that bus at any time, they don't have to,
yeah.
so that's why you have to be ready for bigger numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
They expect the bus, and even
Yeah.
if they only ride it on Fridays,
Yeah.
so. All right, page 11 is another important story in this budget. So for whatever reason, the Sheepscot Valley has become a place where people want to move to, and it's driving up prices. Property, the home prices they're selling higher than they used to. But not only that, but it's really increasing at a rapid rate, more so than usual. And the problem with that is it's RSU 12, it's about 12 or 13% increase. And this is a 3-year rolling average. And so Maine with the 3-year rolling average, I get this data from the DOE when they publish their subsidy report. You can see everybody's change in valuation. And the state of Maine as an average was up 8%, while we were up 13%, which means we lose subsidy, which, you're used to, you don't even get any subsidy. So it really doesn't matter. Well, you get a little bit, but you don't get much. But some of these other towns and the RSU as a whole, we get subsidy. And so because our valuation has spiked so much, we lost subsidy now last year we lost, I can't remember what it was, but it was over 100,000 in subsidy. This year we only gained 64,000. It's nice that we gained, but there was lots in the news about money going towards education. We're going to maintain the 55% funding of the formula, and we didn't see any of that. Other districts did. We didn't, because of this significant change in property valuation. And it's happening all up and down the Sheepscot River, Palermo, big spikes in property valuation. People, I mean, I don't know if there's any real estate agents in the room, but I don't know why this is happening, but it's it is. So Westport's valuation also the 3-year rolling average has also increased, which you may know. I don't know how often you do assessments, property assessments, but this is what the state says you're worth according to the 3-year rolling average. So you're actually worth more than that. So that's page 12, sorry, page 13. So when we build a budget, it's, the board wants folks to understand that there just is, especially in an RSU 12 budget, there isn't that much to control. There isn't that much that they can do to reduce. We've already reduced administration over time. You got a pretty efficient and small central office. And then you've got staff. So so really the part the board can control is pre-K to 8 staff in our buildings. We can't control tuition. We could control transportation and buses. Maybe you can control benefits a little bit by asking employees to pay a bigger share of benefits, but there's just so little that you can control. But everything in the blue is what you could conceivably control. And that amount in this budget has decreased by $53,000. So the board's doing everything they can. Next, number 2 is what is uncontrollable. So the first, of course, is tuition, particularly high school tuition. So high school tuition went up another 6% this year. We never find out till December how much it's going to go up. And so we are budgeting another 6% for next year. Just taking a guess. And the other thing that's new is that the insured value factor that we have to pay to all private schools, that'd be like Lincoln Academy, Erskine Academy, Waynfleet, with kids going all over. There's something in the law that's been there since the 90s that says we pay 6% insured value factor, which basically means we're paying for their capital improvements. So somehow there was a lobby and a law put in place back in the 90s. It's been there. And then it went from 6% to 10% in 2015. But nobody, I can't even believe the private schools didn't speak up. Nobody noticed. And so nobody said, hey, RSU 12, you're supposed to be paying 10%. And all the other districts that are tuition districts, they weren't paying 10%. It was not till this summer that somebody realized, and I really don't know who, realized, wait a minute, these districts should be paying 10% of IVF. And so we didn't find it, we weren't officially notified until December. And so for us, going from 6% to 10% is about $200,000 that we had to add to this budget unexpectedly. So the tuition budget in total between the 6% and that IVF is up $668,000, which is a 9% increase in tuition costs. The other uncontrollable item, we do have some students, more than we've seen in the past. They're younger students, kindergarten, first grade, coming to us next year who have significant disabilities, and you can't educate them in a public school. You have to send them to a private placement. And each one of those students is about $65,000. And, you know, there are some years where we don't have any students like that at a grade level. And this year we have 5, which was surprising. You know, significant autism or other types of disabilities. And so that has increased the special ed budget by $390,000. So 2 really, really big expensive items that the board really can't do anything about. Number 3 uncontrollable item is the property valuation we talked about, reducing our subsidy. So really 3 and 4 are connected. Last one, number 5, is there's been a lot of recent legislation that is now being implemented, and that is also putting pressure on this budget. And then we're not even, the threats to the loss of federal funding. That's not, we're just pretending it's never going to happen. We don't know what else to do at this point. But it's definitely a little stressful. Page 4.
Unless you have to leave in May,
Okay, maybe that'll help. Yep, let's say, yep. Page 14 is some of the legislation I just referred to, and some of it came about last spring. Well, a bunch of it did. Yeah. And so LD 974 set a minimum wage for education support staff, so that would be bus drivers, ed techs, custodians, secretaries. So that rate added $125,000 to this budget, mostly in special ed. So when you see the special ed cost center, you know, there's different pieces that are making that number so big. We talked about the out of district placements. This minimum wage is causing the increase. There's another LD that is it's actually proposed. So we put it hasn't passed yet. And I don't now I'm not sure it will, but we put it in this budget because we need to be prepared. That added 20,000. Paid Family Medical Leave Act, that passed last spring. And it's going into effect now. That adds $50,000 to this budget. And then the IVF that we talked about, insured value factor, is well, I say there that it's adding $390,000. You can adjust that number down. It's actually half of that. What we've decided to do, so one of the things that we did not budget for the 10%, it's happening right now. And so we're really worried we're going to overspend the budget. So private schools said, oh, you can pay it next year. If you pay it next year, it adds $390,000 to this budget. Finance committee changed their mind and said, okay, let's we're freezing things, we're doing all kinds of stuff to save money so we can pay it in this year's budget. So if you take 390 and divide it in half, that is the amount of IVF. We talked about it on the previous slide. Another unexpected cost in this budget was that when COVID ended, Medicaid eligibility changed. So we actually have employees on Medicaid, which, you know, probably isn't the best thing in the world that we have working people on Medicaid, but if they were qualifying for Medicaid, mostly because they worked a school year and they, you know, made close to minimum wage. But now that the minimum wage for support staff has gone up and the COVID eligibility went away, it's harder to qualify for Medicaid or main care, we call it. So we had about 24 employees take health insurance that had never taken health insurance before. And so health insurance is about, you know, $10,000 or $11,000 a person. So that's where you get to that $284,000 increase. And that is also mostly in the special ed budget because there's special ed who are choosing health insurance. And of course, there's inflation. So this is like my bad news page. I don't really have any good news on this page, page 14. Page 15 is supposed to be the good news page. So I was listening on the radio or whatever, coming into work and there, or maybe, I don't know, it was in the newspaper. Education costs are just out of control. They're just, you know, and they're, you know, twice the rate of inflation. And that's what was said in the article. And so I was curious, well, is RSU 12 twice the rate of inflation? So I used COLA to determine the inflation rate, went back a number of years and this is the cost side of the budget. So how much is the budget increased? Not counting the subsidy and the local increase for some towns is certainly more than this, but just the cost side of things that the board approves. So we were generally under inflation until this budget that I'm proposing right now. That's over inflation. Of course, COLA and our budgets don't quite line up in the fiscal years. But anyway, if you look back over the 4 years, we are a little bit under inflation. So that's the good news. Page 16 is a graph of our subsidy over time. And you can see how it's kind of flattened out, mostly because of our property valuations are going up. I don't know if they'll go back down. I don't know if people are continuing to move here. There might also be maybe a housing shortage that's causing this problem. So. And there's an awful lot of waterfront in Scott Valley. I had no idea. Ponds, lakes, rivers, there's all kinds of waterfront. Of course, West Rhode Island has a whole bunch. Yeah. Page 17 is the proposed budget. This was recommended by the RSU 12 board last Thursday. So this is what we're going to bring to May 21st, if hopefully you can attend. So it's up 5.1% for all the reasons we just talked about. And subsidy is not helping us. It's up 0.2%. So it's a $28.6 million budget. Page 18 is the cost centers that you vote on May 21st. And the biggest cost center at 14.5 million is regular instruction. That includes the tuition that we pay. And so I broke it out so you can see, pre-K to 8, we can mostly control what's happening with staff, salary, staff benefits. We are seeing some retirements. That's one big reason why it's down. So pre-K to 8 is down. And that actually includes, honestly, Alna and West Rhode Island pre-K to 8, which is the tuition is part of that number. But it's not a big part. The high school tuition is a huge part of this budget. And like I said before, it's up 9%. So that's one of the reasons why this budget's up. And then the next line down, special ed, which is the second cost center to vote on, you can see it's up $784,000, which is a lot. And we talked about why. Because special ed director, she just, she builds her budget and we put in the salaries and the benefits, and then we all get together and we have a meeting. And she just didn't understand why it was up so much. Well, so much of it was not even in her control, right? The minimum wage went up, the health insurance went up. I mean, she knew about the out of district placements, but that and our special ed department is pretty creative, and they've managed to keep costs down, but not this year. Then the rest of the cost centers are kind of what you'd expect. Number 9, facilities and maintenance is down. That's supposed to be in red. Is down 27,000, mostly because of the solar field and the electricity savings. And then lastly, the Windsor School, the debt is the construction debt's paid off. So we don't have to make a payment for Windsor School next year. So that's the 281,000. And that's how you end up with a $1.4 million increase, 5.1%. Page 19. Page 19 is just a picture of the size of things, just to kind of get a proportional view on what's going on. So high school tuition, which is 4 grades, is now more than pre-K to 8, which is 10 grades of students. So of course, high school tuition includes, so does number. And then special ed is also a big triangle. And we did have a discussion at the board meeting last week about one of the things that we haven't teased out that might be interesting to you is, as a school choice district, when we go to get special ed services for students, there's really no rules around what districts can charge us. So there's this negotiation that happens, and we negotiate as best we can, but we don't really have a big negotiating place to negotiate from. The student wants to go there. And so those costs tend to be much higher than they would be if you had your own high school. And I only say that just to give people an idea of, why does it keep going up? Yeah,
I want to take you back actually to the other page in system administration.
yep,
So that also has gone up, not as much in dollars, but in terms of percentage, it's still a jump. And I know that in the past, you showed us information showing us that RSU goal has been very low cost in terms of system administration.
yes.
So we have a bump. Is there something driving that into the bump?
Oh boy, it could be I don't have it in front of me, our software, our auditor. So there's things in there besides, just me and the business office. So we've got a software license, the accounting software. So some of these things, oh, I know what it is, insurance. So inflation is, so our, insurance premiums have gone up. That was a big one. So those are some of the things, and did you calculate the percentage? What is it? 9%, 8%?
So it's not ballpark. I didn't actually stop and do it, but it's, yeah, you're there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so those are the three biggies that, again, our staff are not getting big 9% increases. We haven't added any staff. Oh, I know, I forgot to talk about this. So we have a 14% increase in health insurance this year. So add it to the list of things that are coming together to just, that just permeates the whole budget as well.
So that's the big insurance increase.
Health insurance, 14% this year. Now, we were lucky if you go back, last year we were not lucky, but if you go back couple 3 years before that, we had 0% increase. And so we were pretty excited about that. But the way they do it is they look at our premiums and what we've paid, and then they look at how much have we used in terms of health insurance costs, and they create this ratio that they call the
Medical loss ratio.
medical loss ratio or the experience rating.
Experience rating.
Makes no sense. And so our costs this year, not to get into, I just know some private things about people, but some people had some pretty serious, very expensive medical things happen. And so that's contributing to that problem. And every year, that's how health insurance, your increase is determined. Now, the other thing to add to the mix was that as a whole, so the Maine Benefits Trust negotiates with Anthem. And the Maine Benefits Trust is educators, that's where we pay our premiums to. And so the experience rating for the whole state was up 17%. And then we got a letter. The Maine Benefits Trust usually pays down the rate, so we aren't hit with a huge increase. Districts, school districts, etc. They've been paying down the rate so much during COVID and everything that they don't have any more money to pay it down. So instead of paying it down, they negotiated changes to our health insurance plan. So everybody on this health insurance plan are going to have bigger deductibles and all this stuff. And that's how they were able to get it down to 14%. So now not every district's at 14%. 14% is the cap. We're at the cap. So. All right, page 20 is a look at our cost per student at the system administration level. So literally taking that cost center that we were just talking about and dividing by the number of students you have. And so this number is listed on the state website. And so we still are among the lowest per student in terms of central office. And That's what all these gray hairs are about.
Which would certainly make it look like they're.
Yeah. And we are, quite a bit below the state average, so. Paid, and that was one of the goals when, RSU 12 was formed, everybody had, different ways of having a superintendent and a business office, and it was costly. Now you have one superintendent, one business office, and so costs, are better. Page 21. This is if you take our pre-K to 8 spending total and then divide it by the number of students. And this also you can find on the state website. And so, and I realized that this number actually includes Westport and Alna pre-K to 8 tuition. So if you, and you can't control that, so if you pull that out, we're probably even lower. But anyway, again, just trying to demonstrate that this is the good news, another good news slide, that yes, costs are up, but we seem to be doing the best we can. Page 22 is the revenue picture. And so it's the right-hand column I'm looking at. And those numbers, so we've got the proposed budget, 28.6 million. Then we've got the state subsidy, which is up 64,000. Then we've got miscellaneous revenue, which is a bunch of different things, interest. The town of Chelsea pays us to transport high school kids. We do an extra run for the town of Chelsea. We get credit from the federal government for this performance energy saving performance bond. The fund balance is an ongoing problem. We started doing that during COVID because we lost $700,000 in subsidy because we had a significant drop in our student population. And then we expected the population to go back up and our subsidy to go back up. And that hasn't really happened because the student population went up some, but the property valuations went up as well. And so the finance committee is putting another $700,000 towards this. But we can only keep doing this for about 3 or 4 more years before the fund balance is gone. Yeah. And so we would prefer this number to be at like 350,000. That's a comfortable place to be. You usually end up with about that much at the end of school year. Districts don't really, keep big fund balances and big designated funds. It's more of a year by year thing because taxpayers don't like that if you're hoarding all this money. Yep.
Well, towns are recommended to have a fund balance of about 15%.
Yeah,
of the budget.
I know.
What's your current fund balance?
So the current fund balance is, well, we haven't had a recent audit, but we're trying to have a recent audit. That's the whole other thing. There seems to be a shortage of auditors for school districts. So we haven't had FY23 done yet. But the estimate is our fund balance is at 2.5 million. And that's mostly leveraging COVID funds smartly. That's how that, because we knew we were on a cliff, right? So that we started during COVID and we've got to get off that cliff. And so there's a COVID law where districts were allowed to have this type of fund balance because the COVID times were so strange and this money was coming in. However, I'm not sure when it starts, but at some point in time, we used to only be able to have 5% fund balance. So your auditor is telling you to have 15 at the town. Districts could not have more than 5. They increased it to 9. So in a few years, we definitely have to make sure we're at 9% of our total budget. But the 2.5 million, you could see how that will, if we keep using $700,000, we've only got about 3 years left. So we need to either see a lot of retirements or a lot more subsidy, or eventually there's gonna be a problem. And so it would be nice if we can subtract $100,000 of that every year for the next 3 years, without causing too much, yeah, so. So yes, that is a situation the finance committee is struggling with, so. And some people will say, well, wow, that's a big fund balance, give it to us right now, right? But then you're gonna have a problem next year.
That was Windsor 2 years ago.
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah. All right, page 23 is how the cost sharing looks after the subsidies taken. And so I don't have a slide that explains our cost sharing formula. The board asked me to add that. So the way it works is we take the total budget, 28.6 million. We divide by how many students we have, and then we get a number. We call it cost per student, and it includes everything. And so that number, let's say it's 18,000, gets multiplied by the amount of students you have in every town. And so then you get another number. So I can't do that. Anyway, so you get a number, and then you subtract any subsidy the state is giving you. So every town is so different demographically. Chelsea, almost half their budget's paid for through state subsidy. You hardly get any, right? So you subtract, and then that's how you end up with your local share. So Westport Island is breaking $1 million this year. As your local share, it's an $80,000 increase. And then what I attempted to do was, I don't have a column showing the percentage increase, because I'm finding that, given the nature of how this is going, towns are bringing in more revenue. Maybe not you, but Windsor, towns are bringing in more revenue and kind of creating these designated funds and saving the money. What they don't realize is they're going to get less subsidy. They need that money to pay their education bill. So we've got this. So if I say, Chelsea's up 9%, the taxpayer is going to think, I'm going to pay 9% more for school. And that's not completely true, because there's this pot of money. And so what I did instead was try to estimate the mill rate impact based on your town valuation, based on what Maine Revenue Services says your town is worth, which may not be, like, if you go to the town of Somerville, they haven't done a property valuation reeval since 2015. So they've got the numbers that don't look like what the state has. Yeah. And so my number in the two right-hand columns are based on what the state says you're worth. And so you can calculate a mill increase based on that. And so for Westport Island, it looks like it's 0.2 of a mill, which would be an increase of $20 for every $100,000 worth of property. So that's a very rough estimate to the impact for Westport Island.
When you look at the mill rate for Walnut, Chelsea, Palm, Palermo, Whitefield, and Windsor, this may be a hard budget to sell.
Yeah, right. And the issue is they have all lost a lot of subsidy. And you never had subsidy in the first place. So you're not feeling the loss. That's it. You feel the loss anyway. All right, and so page 24 is again, please attend on May 21st if you can. And don't forget to vote on June 10th. Are there any questions? All right, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Some might not know this, but this was the superintendent of the year.
Oh,
For the
that's great.
year.
Okay.
Wonderful happened. Well, we're with superstars. And tomorrow. We had one Zoom.
Oh, thank you.
Did you have that? Sure, yes, they did that. Thank you.
And the last awesome.
Awesome. We are, yeah.
What? Done the back.
Oh, just give it back to me when you're done. So like this one.
Being able to describe something that really makes it start. Thank you very much. Safe travels. It's a snapshot.
Of course, it's supposed to be done. Okay.
Yeah, and then their health insurance getting worse because they lose.
Yep. It reminds me of a car, if you have an accident with a car, your insurance goes up. That makes, but if you use insurance for your health, it goes up. That's scary. Yeah. Thank you all for coming. Thanks, Ann. Okay, we'll continue on with our meeting. Citizens issues. We have a couple of citizens back there. Any issues that you want to share?
Any issues?
No. Okay, we're continuing on with our meeting.
Separate. Oh my gosh,
All
there
right,
must be a cracker in the cabinet.
all right, next is roads, and we don't have our road commissioner here, so we won't talk about roads. So we'll go on to our select board business. And thank you all very much for coming.
Oh, yes, we have two meetings coming up, May 16th, and then we're gonna do it again on the 22nd, and talk about the warrant, and the roads is gonna be a big part of that presentation. With a 10-year plan of
What's the date again?
May 16th, it's at the town hall, you'll see it advertised.
Yep.
Night, thank you.
All right, April, do you want to talk about the 88 porta potty rental?
Sure.
Right, you skipped committee reports.
Oh. Oops,
Oops,
do we have any?
do we
Do
have
we
it?
have any?
You,
I'll make one.
okay, sorry. From roads, we'll go to committee reports. Any updates?
Well, yes,
Okay.
Chris Malley and I concluded our inspections of all the town hall buildings. You saw a little bit of the original budget list, the
Yeah.
list now of the potential costs for fixing. It's not 100% guaranteed, because we might have missed something, or we might
Of course.
take something apart and find something underneath.
Right.
But we're working towards this summer, really doing a big push for a lot of volunteerism on the things that we can use
can handle,
volunteers for.
yeah.
So they were kind of really ramping up on maybe using some monies for the materials like paint. But depending upon our great population and eager people that are willing to help. So April asked me about putting something like that out in the newsletter, so I think that this is about the time.
Yep.
That we're gonna start moving forward on that.
And then we can get a list on the 16th and the 22nd too. Sign up sheet.
That's right.
Yep.
Jack Swanton is back on the septic pump problem / fix at the Water Astoria down here at the boat landing. He has not come back to me yet and said that it's completed and fixed, but he was going back to work on it some more.
Great.
I think that's about it.
Why not? Select board business. Now we'll go to the ADA accessible porta potty. You want to talk about that?
Dealing with toilets a lot here. I got another quote from the company in Wiscasset, which was $225 as well. And no one else really serves this area, so I could get 2 quotes, I got 2 quotes. But they were both 225 on the nose, so I think that must be
Must be
about
going right.
they're going right. So if it's okay with you, I will rent that, I guess, and we'll maybe have to shift one of the concrete or the stone barriers or something, but she says as long as we have a flattish grass area, we should be fine.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So it used to be a flat-ish grass area that has to have less than 2% grade.
Yeah, I know.
There's
I don't know if I can make the landscape perfectly ADA accessible, but I think we can do better. Have,
I think we can.
so,
I think my preference would be to put it on the right side of the building
Mhm.
instead of the left, but
yeah,
I can do either side.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get that ready.
We'll have to go down there and look it over.
How flat it is, yeah.
Yeah, and we do have a elections and town meeting budget. I can check with Ashley to see what's in there, but I'm
That's right.
fairly confident we have enough to cover that, so.
Great.
Great. Do we need to make a vote or something, or?
I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and rent the porta potty for the day. So that as many people as possible can attend. And hopefully you'll post that and let people know that
Yeah,
that will be available.
I will.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know where you're gonna get it from? Charlotte's asking.
Oh, Ideal porta potties, they're out of Wisconsin.
They're very fancy now. My daughter ordered one for her daughter's wedding.
They're almost like.
Very nice.
Yeah, you can get nice ones. This one probably won't be that fancy, but
You want them to get in and get back out, not spend the day in there.
Need a second.
A second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we've approved it.
oh,
You care?
what? Someone's gone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or guess that was it's gone. Do you
Oh.
care? Do you have to write it down?
I don't have to write it down.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next, we want to, speaking of Jack Swan, we have 2 appointments for him. It's gonna be a busy man.
Yes,
Um,
this is because of his work.
Yeah, he is busy.
He wanted like a key to the town hall. I'm like, we have to be something. Yeah, I can't just give you a key.
Just be my minion.
Yes.
All right, so first,
Officially.
I'd like to move that we appoint Jack Swanton to the History Committee Associate Member. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you know how great this guy is?
He's a big help.
Pretty great.
Yeah.
We have a lot.
Well, he's taking care of the septic tank, so.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Critical but very business. Jack was also actually set up the UPA system in the town hall. So your question there, he's
He's the
well,
guy.
hopefully still remembers.
Sure he
It's been a
does.
while.
all right, next I'd like to move that we appoint Jack Swanton as Town Property Maintenance Committee member. Since he's been doing some work there, he needs to be on the committee.
Yeah.
That way he's covered by insurance.
He's a regular member of that. Regular.
Yep, yep,
Did you just second, Kim?
I did.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right, next, we had a PIER, peer review, Friday with a Sperduto Edgecombe property in, around Cahill Point. And, Lisa and I,
Edgecombe, her last name is Edgecombe.
Okay.
And not her, it's like, way down related.
Guys do it over there.
along here for the Edgecombe. How would they have a long here? So Lisa and I were there representing the board, and along with, Gary Richardson was there, Richard Spaduto, and, one of the abutters, Bud Gallagher was also there. And, we found no navigational hazards, no ingress or egress, so, we'll sign the minutes, and then what I'd like to do is make a motion that we, grant them the license to build their ramp and float. So do I have a second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I if I was on there?
Yes, you can.
Aye.
Yeah. You got some top. All right, and that's it for select board business. We have some staff announcements. April?
Yeah, just want to remind folks, mooring permit renewals are due annually, and will be due May 1st. There is a bit of a grace period as well, but please do try to get those in May 1st. We have an online form this year that about 20 people have used, so that's exciting.
That's good.
Yeah.
And speaking of moorings, I got a note from Ted today saying that they have put in the ramps and the floats at the ferry landing. So those are now in. So I don't know if you wanna, where we might post that or let people know.
Okay.
Anybody
Put
know?
that in the newsletter.
Yep. And we have a warrant review and feedback sessions on May 16th and May 22nd. We're calling them the warrant preview and feedback sessions. We're hoping that people will come. We'll share some of the big picture items on the warrants. We won't go through the entire warrant, but the big picture items, and then we'll get some feedback, we hope. And from there, our next session, then we'll, if we need to tweak anything based on the feedback that we got, then we'll have a more completed looking warrant
Those meetings will be down to the town.
at the town hall. Yeah,
At 6.
Yeah.
At 6
6
o'clock.
6 o'clock.
I had that in the article, but it didn't get in this week, it will be in.
Yeah,
I can reiterate it in the other.
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you.
So
Go ahead.
we're having it there with the hopes that we get a big crowd.
We want input, that's why we're
Yeah,
doing it.
exactly.
What's that?
We want input, which is why we're having it at the town hall. We want people to come.
We probably could have it here based upon last year's.
But, you know.
But it might be good for them to see the town.
Optimistic.
Yeah.
More than 15 chairs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
put it on the sign and people will come.
there you go.
Yeah.
Um,
I know, but free beer,
There you go.
town hall.
and he's
insurance to that one.
giving us the free beer, Jeff.
But it'll get them in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Then we can say surprise.
Yeah, we're hoping that, again, we're just being optimistic. We hope that we can have some really good discussion at those two meetings and hash through different issues, and then at the actual meeting, the town meeting, that we won't have to have as much, that won't happen, but we're gonna try anyway. And actually, having feedback from people also helps us make sure that we're prepared for the board, for the big meeting. So we do want comments and feedback from people, so we are advertising that already. So thank you for putting that in. If there is nothing else, then
Let's get a question.
I was just gonna say, anyone that can't come to the meeting, would you suggest you call or?
yeah, they can
Right.
all, yep.
Yep, call or email the select board.
Yep,
So we've been encouraging people to do that if they have any thoughts or ideas they want in the warrant.
yep.
I'm done.
And I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn. Do I have a second? Second, all in favor? Right.
Say it's a